42 days ago, exactly, the very top of the house at Chelsea from the US sent me a message. Graham Potter is thoughtful, creative, and the right coach for our rebuild. And now, 42 days on, he has always conducted himself with professionalism and integrity. And we're all disappointed with this outcome. It is incredible. I mean, ex-Brighton man Bruno Salta, is he really the answer from this point onwards? No disrespect to him, but there's a lot to be done.
Well, that's the thing, Jim. We were talking about this earlier on. Is it really a better risk to go into a Champions League quarter-final game without a manager in charge and put it on Bruno? And what does that say about Graham Potter, that they would rather go into a massive Champions League knockout game without him?
Yeah, I mean, I do not think there is any club like Chelsea right now, Laura, in terms of leaving everybody in the media and the supporters scratching their heads, Dean. I mean, in the last window, you would think, right, there is a message to our manager. £323 million spent in the last window alone.
And never bought a striker. You imagine Erling Haaland playing up front for Chelsea at the moment. I mean, it is amazing what has happened. And I think big questions now being asked about the Bole Eghbali ownership. So we shall see. Having said all that, is Graham Potter now Leicester-bound? Could be. And what next for Brendan Rodgers? All these managers on the move. Incredibly, Laura, I mean, the 13th Premier League managerial change this season. Who would have thought it? Before a ball is kicked, and now we are at the 3rd of April. Parker, Tuchel, Lage, Gerrard, Hasenhüttl, Lampard, Marsh, Jones, Vieira, Conte, Rodgers, Potter, all gone.
Oh my God.
All gone.
I'd forgotten about
that. If you last 2 years, you've done an amazing job. Football management.
You get a watch for that now, Dino.
Football management's getting that bad that you might as well just get a caravan and park your caravan outside the ground. Don't go in a hotel.
Which is exactly the way that Ollie goes about it, isn't it?
They get paid a whole bunch of money, they get sacked, they make even more money, and that's it, and then they go into the next one.
But what about your
pride,
Laura?
Divine.
What about your pride?
I reckon 7 million will make me feel a bit better about my pride.
No, it doesn't. I know everybody thinks that, but when you're managing, all you want to do is get the team winning, and it hurts. Graham Potter will be in agony today. He won't be thinking about the 20 million he's getting.
Yeah, you're right though. Ian Holloway's got the right idea. Get in the mobile home and travel to the next job vacancy.
He really does, actually. Jim, can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much,
Martin Kieran's with us as well.
And P.S. so's Martin. Cheers, Jim. See you later on. He's coming up at 10 a.m. this morning. Okay, let's just quickly hear from Graham Potter. This was his interview after that defeat to Aston Villa at the weekend.
I think if you look at the stats of the game, there's a lot of positives there for us, but the most important stat we're really disappointed with, of course. Bitterly disappointed with the result. The boys were positive, I thought, in the game. We created chances ourselves. We had entries into their box. We had shots, but ultimately in the bit that really matters, we didn't do well enough.
So, me and Dean are just talking about when he got sacked. He said, I didn't get paid that much money.
No, you don't. Only 5% of managers get that type of payoffs. Not like Mourinho gets. Most of the managers who are in the 90-odd clubs, they're getting peanuts.
Yeah, but Premier League compared
6 months'
to the rest.
wages.
But if you're in the Premier League compared to the rest, that's a hell of a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, they're getting like daft. But it all depends. In your contract, your severance pay. Like Alan Pardew had a 15-year contract. But it means nothing. Yeah, it's your severance pay.
By the way, I think it's still running, isn't it?
It's still there.
Former Chelsea defender Scott Minto is joining us now. Scott, hello. You've obviously heard us cooing over this and giving our ill-informed opinions. What's yours?
Morning, Scott.
Morning, Scott. How are you, mate?
Morning, guys. Yeah, no, I'm really good. I suppose, Dino, it's sort of divorce settlement out before you get married, isn't it? Really, in that sense, what you're just saying.
Yeah, well.
Look, I mean, look, and you're right. It is.
I wish I'd done that as well.
I was going to say that. That's probably not the best radio station to say that on, because there's a lot of people here that might wish they'd taken that advice.
Look, I feel for Graham, Laura. I mean, you know, I've kind of wanted it to happen for him, and after the Salzburg game, remember that one back in October where he was seen as a genius, where he played Raheem Sterling one side and Christian Pulisic the other. Salzburg hadn't lost a game at home for 30 matches, and he tweaked and changed things then, and then suddenly it went all pear-shaped against Brighton. I think he had some difficult games just before the World Cup with Arsenal and Newcastle and City. But the bottom line is, when you're spending nearly £600 million, you can't be in the bottom half of the Premier League. You know, it's not been good enough. It's not been a settled side. It's not been. The system doesn't look like he knows exactly what he wants. And look, I'll try and defend him in terms of Reece James. He is an out-and-out right wing back, but he's also very good in that position as a centre half. And I think physically he's not 100% fit right now. So I think he's almost being looked after a bit there, but he still needs him in the side.
How can you go? Sorry, I thought you were finished. Carry on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, how can you go from having genius performances against Salzburg and me and Ali, the one that you sorted us out for, going and watching them at home to Dortmund in the Champions League? There were so many times in the season when you're like, oh, it's clicked for Chelsea. And then all of a sudden it just comes apart again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There was the Leeds game. The Dortmund game, I think, was probably his best game in his very short reign. There was Leicester as well. And then you're thinking, right, that's it. You have to kick on now. And then the drop points against Everton, the loss against Villa. And you just got the feeling that at what point is this going to click? What are we seeing? That something that's going to say, yeah, we're not that far away and it's going to happen. Look, I think under Roman Abramovich, he would have been sacked a long time ago. And the first time I started to worry about Graham Potter was after the Leeds game, where I think Todd Bowley walked across the touchline and he was asked, you happy with that? You enjoy that? And he went, well, it's a result.
Yeah.
And that told me that he wasn't 100% behind him from then.
Scott, do you think Graham Potter was signing the players?
Does any manager completely sign the players anymore, Dino?
Well, I think Ten Hag does right now, and there's a difference. You've seen the difference it makes when all of a sudden he's getting players that he wants. Even the big striker who's not good enough, he knows he works hard, so he gets him in. Weghorst, yeah, he gets him in because he knows what he's going to get from him. He knows, and he's trying. If you don't sign the players, when it's the fan, they will not dig in for you if you haven't signed them. If you've signed them, they feel obliged to actually dig in for you so you don't get sacked.
But that's not the Chelsea model, Dino. And
well, that's what's happening to the Chelsea model, Scott.
Well, look, that's why Thomas Tuchel got sacked. He's an extremely good world-class manager, but you have to manage up in this situation. It's why Graham Potter got the job. And it's why people like, I think, Luis Enrique and a few others who would be very, very good at the job probably won't be offered it because, they're out and out managers in that respect. Look, I mean, you talk about control. I'm not sure managers under Roman Abramovich had full control of the players coming in as well. And we know how ruthless he was if things went pear-shaped. Chelsea, I heard Jim saying just before, Chelsea's a different animal, and it has been. And it's a different type of animal now, but it's still a different animal to most of the clubs going around.
Sorry, Ali. I think he'll get another job, Graham Potter. I mean, I don't think it's when you get sacked by Chelsea. I think it's a compliment.
No, absolutely. And what I would say is, I know Laura's joking about getting paid off for $7 million. She'll accept that. I mean, she's getting paid $7 million and she's in a job anyway. So
$7 million was a number I've just picked out the top of my head, by the way, just randomly. I just checked my bank balance.
I know, and it could be more than that as well. But look, I think. Again, you're just talking about AJ before, Anthony Joshua, and I don't like the fact that mental health is sometimes just bandied around and used as an excuse. But I think when you're at real top level elite, it's not about the money. And I think Graham Potter, as well as Anthony Joshua, need to make sure they've got good people around them and realise they support them for the people they are, not for the job that they do. I believe he'll do really well going on. I think he'll lick his wounds. He'll take the rest of the summer off. And I think he'll come back with a point to prove. I think he's an excellent coach and he would have learned a hell of a lot in these last 7.
You are, I know what you're saying, Scott. We do kind of joke about money and you're right. But he did actually bring that up earlier on in the season, didn't he, Graham Potter, about that mental health and about how social media became so much of a cesspit around the results that people in his family were getting death threats and things like that. And obviously that's the kind of thing you think, God, after a job, let's be honest about it, after the last however months he's been at Chelsea, how will he... will he want to go back into a role? Would you want to just take a step back for a bit?
I think he wants to take a step back, but I do think he'll want to go back in. One thing you would probably say is with the emotional intelligence that he has, he is able to process it. And I think he wasn't necessarily complaining about himself. It was more his family. I mean, my suggestion would be, it's not right, but it is going to be what it is. And if you're a family member of Graham Potter, don't go on social media. It's as simple as that. It maybe isn't for these people, but it should be. And that's unfortunately what you have to do. I think he'll come back. I think he's a really good coach and I think he'll see him come in, whether it be the Leicester job. If he hadn't have gone to Chelsea, I think Spurs fans will be really wanting him now So let's wait and see what happens at the start of next season or halfway through it.
Scott, they couldn't go on and win the Champions League, could they?
Mate, they did it in 2012, and they did it obviously a decade later as well. I just can't see them getting past Real Madrid.
Was that Di Matteo?
I mean,
Di Matteo was manager, and they sacked him at the end of the season.
They sacked him halfway through, and Tuchel did it. Tuchel came in halfway through the season when Frank went as well. Look, if you two maybe you two are lucky charms in the Champions League. I don't know. I'll have to try and get you. But if they perform like that, then who knows? But I think that's going to be tough. And even then, if you get through that, you've got Man City or Bayern Munich.
That side is so difficult, isn't it, for those teams? My goodness.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.